Hey everyone, it's Types, and in building a Pokemon TCG deck, there are of course a lot of different things to think about, and probably the one that people think about first is probably their main Pokemon that's doing damage and doing cool stuff, and that's completely fair, but probably certainly the most important part in terms of playing Pokemon is actually being able to play it. In order to do it, you need cards, and so then you need a draw engine to do so. And today I'm going to be going over some different decks and explaining how they build their draw engines, why the decisions are made in the ways that they are, so that you can then build draw engines in your own decks and kind of understand things. And there's only so many draw engines, so honestly, sometimes you can take a draw engine in a top deck and just kind of replace out the main attacker for a different one that you might enjoy a little more, or just learn a lot of really interesting ideas from these different decks here. I'm going to be going through some of them. I actually haven't decided how many I'm going to do, and yeah, let's just hop right in though with the first deck, Gholdengo, and I'll explain exactly what I mean by a draw engine. So what I mean here is engine or draw engine. Some people include energy acceleration in engines as well. I don't. I don't know exactly where I'd include it. I just say it's energy acceleration, but ultimately the draw engine allows you to draw cards, but also I would say search cards. Some people, like as a more narrow definition, and I'd sometimes say this, would say the draw engines are going to be your Pokemon, but it can also include trainers. Theoretically, it could include energies. I guess we'll talk about that when we get to Alakazam a little bit, but for the most part, it's going to be Pokemon and trainers, and mostly made up of three parts. You're going to have your draw Pokemon, which is said are like the main part of the engine. And then you have supporters, which draw and or search you cards, like Arven here. For the most part, they draw you cards. If we take a look at, say, Dragapult EX here, we see Iono and Lily's Determination, but we also do see Hilda and Dawn, which are supporters that search out cards. Then you have item cards that are going to search you, generally Pokemon, maybe energy. You can also toss like Artizone, a Stadium here, probably in with something like Buddy Buddy Poffin or Nest Ball, fulfilling a very similar role. So you're going to have your Pokemon, which are mostly going to be drawing you cards, your supporters, which are mostly going to be drawing you cards into your other items and your Pokemon, and then your items, which are going to be getting you Pokemon, maybe energies as well there. And then, of course, your draw engine is based around, in some sense, your main attacking Pokemon. We see the main attacker is Gholdengo EX, which discards energy from your hand, and it also does have a draw ability here, which is very important to note. It is called Coin Bonus, and that is actually a very good name. It is a bit of a bonus. Once during your turn, if it's in the active, you can draw 2 cards, otherwise you can draw 1 card. You can do this with every single Gholdengo EX you have, so you'd like to get a bunch of Gholdengo EXs in play, but you need at least one, so you are going to need ways to search out Gholdengo EX. This list here, we see a copy of Genesect DX, which once every turn can get 2 Gholdengo EXs from your deck into your hand. This is obviously useful to getting you set up attacking, and then getting you set up even more with a bunch of Gholdengo EXs to draw a good chunk of cards. That being said, Gholdengo EX is going to be drawing you, if you have all 4 in play, it's going to be drawing you 5 cards if just one's in the active. You can maybe draw more with an Air Balloon, which is a switching card or Professor Turret scenario. That means that these switching cards provide that form of utility, also add to your draw engine, but for the most part, you're drawing some cards, but it's a decent amount of commitment to get there. Though you, of course, do have ways to get your Pokemon into play. Your item search cards, we see Nest Ball, Buddy Buddy Poffin, Ultra Ball, Artizone, and Fighting Gong. And Arven also will allow you to get all those cards, except for Artizone there. And that means that Arven can get any, essentially every card in your deck, except for the other supporters, and I guess Artizone as well, because it grabs a tool and an item, and then the item gets you, again, pretty much anything. But then the item count it's not super low, but it's not super high either here in terms of getting your Pokemon, because you need more items for other things, specifically to get your energies. You have Earthen Vessel, then Superior Energy Retrieval to recover it. And so you're going to be committing up a lot of deck slots there, so you have less deck space for your other search options, but also then that explains the counts of cards, or sorry, the total count of cards, but not the individual counts. Buddy Buddy Poffin, this is generally good. We'll talk about this more in other decks, but this is, the first one, so I'll go over it more in general. This is one of the main 3 searching item cards. This lets you search for 2 basic Pokemon of 70 HP or less, put them onto your bench. This is good if you have a lot of these Pokemon. If you have a few of them, it's okay. If you just have one line, it's kind of meh, especially if you do have a lot of other basic lines, which is kind of what we see here. It's mostly grabbing your Gimme Ghouls to evolve into your Gholdengo EX. They are important, and you have value from getting multiple Gimme Ghouls into play, other than just having them be your previous evolution to your attacker. So, Buddy Buddy Poffin is pretty nice here, and you can search it early on with Arven if you draw into it. Keep in mind, Arven's not a supporter you can always have in hand. I think some people kind of have this idea that it's always there. Turn 1, they're like, okay, I'm going to turn 1 Arven for maybe Precious Trolley plus TM Turbo Energize or something, and you just won't always be able to do that, but you can have Arven to help you get your Buddy Buddy Poffins early. And Buddy Puffin's almost only going to be useful early in pretty much any deck here. Nest Ball is a little bit different, grabbing just one basic, but it's any basic. This is really useful if you're playing basics that aren't searchable off of Buddy Puffin. Also, we do play Baniri. I'll mention that. That's another option searchable off of Buddy Puffin. And I'd say that Baniri and Lopunny is much more playable in the deck because you have Buddy Poffin to get more value from it to then get this basic here. But Nestball can get your Genesect EX or your Lunatone or Solrock or your Pheasant EX, but it can also get any basic. It can get the ones that Buddy Poffin can search as well. So Nestball is going to be more versatile but less explosive. Long story short, I'd say Nest Ball is a safer card, but if you play everything safe, you're not necessarily going to get to where you want to be. Art Zone is a bit in the middle, getting non-rule box basics. It's getting everything Buddy Poffin can search and more. Here we see it gets the Lunatone and the Solrock, but it does also help your opponent. You can't play multiple Art Zone, so there's some pros and cons there, but Nest Ball is going to be really useful for finding, of course, any basic here. Specifically, it's really useful for getting Genesect EX as well. Genesect EX, as I said, gets your Gholdengo EXs. You're going to be really relying on this. Honestly, this list, I feel like if you get your Genesect EX prize, which could happen, that's really bad. But you do also have an Ultra Ball. You can Arven for the Ultra Ball to get Gholdengo EX. Ultra Ball is cool because it can get any basic or any evolution, any Pokemon from your deck. This is actually the only way to search out Mega Lopunny EX from the deck here, but it also allows you to get your Gholdengo EX, but then it also allows you to grab any basic as well. Ultra Ball, on the scale, Buddy Poffin is going to be super powerful when you can play it, but it's not always going to get everything you want. Nest Ball can get most of the things you want, but it's, just getting one card, and also doesn't go to your hand if you have an on-play ability, so it's not... it doesn't get literally everything, but it gets most things. But again, it also only gets one thing. Ultra Ball also only gets one thing and discards 2 other cards from your hand. So Ultra Ball is a card that has more downsides than Nest Ball, but also can get anything. So it's the safest of those 3 options there. And as you look at your deck, you're going to look at what you want as, balancing the power and the safeness of your deck. This is something that matters from deck to deck, but also matters from deck builder to deck builder. And if you just copy decks all the time, then you might miss out on that. You'll probably learn it as you play more. But, kind of mess around with accounts to what you feel most comfortable with. If you feel like the deck is whiffing a lot, then you can add more copies of Ultra Ball or Nest Ball. And if you feel like the deck is coming up short, you're getting some items, but they're not really getting you to where you need to be, then switch more to those Buddy Poffins or Nest Balls there. And again, it is like a bit of a scale. That's not everything to it, but that's a bunch to it. Then the supporters, there are some different supporters. They mostly go into 2 categories, but here this list of draw supporters. There's draw supporters / search supporters, and there are utility supporters, which the other supporters, Boss Lords, Press Snare, and Lanazade are all utility supporters. They can theoretically get more cards in your hand, but for the most part, they're not doing that. So we're looking at Arven here as a way mostly to get items, because this deck, as I said, it plays lower items in terms of Pokemon search because it's relying more on Earthen Vessel and Superior Energy Retrieval. If you're a deck that relies heavily on either an item on specific turns or a tool on specific turns, Arven's going to be the card you're looking for. In other decks, it can be useful. Again, it searches an item and a tool. Ideally, you want good value from both as well. The best tool in the game is going to be Air Balloon. So if you're playing Arven, you presumably want at least 1 Air Balloon in the deck. Air Balloon's super good in Gholdengo EX, allowing you to potentially draw an extra card, because then you can retreat your Gholdengo EX into another Gholdengo EX. So that's going to be value there. That being said, near the end of the game, you're not really going to be getting much value out of the tools from Arven, and this is going to be in a lot of different decks as well. If you're relying on a Technical Machine early game, you can play Arven there. Then in late game, you might be having relatively dead value from half of Arven. I'll also mention the supporter here, Team Rocket's Petrol. Petrol is a card that is pretty good in some different decks. It can also be played within something like Gholdengo EX as essentially an extra Arven as well. But this card is something that allows you to search your deck for any trainer, put it into your hand. It can allow you to get, any trainer, which includes Artizone if you wanted to, or like a supporter. That's relatively situational, but it could be useful. And again, Arven, they're a good chunk of time, so you're not getting a ton of value out of the tool. So Team Rocket's Petrol can be a pretty good card as well. I think it's a little bit forgotten about, but it is still very, very good there. Though certainly not as good as Arven. And then looking at the Pokemon lineup, I haven't really talked about it too much here. And as I said, it plays less lower count of items, lower count of supporters to set you up as well. This is because the Pokemon do that really well. Gholdengo EX itself, as I said, it has a bit of a bonus ability here. Bonus, I guess it's a pun intended. Allowing you to draw extra cards, and it is going to be extra cards because you still have a full engine behind it, or a pretty full engine, with Lunatone allowing you to discard a fighting energy if you have Solrock on your bench to draw 3 cards once every turn. You can't use multiple Lunatones. And then Pheasantipty EX, if one of your Pokemon is knocked out last turn, you also get to draw 3 cards. So you can be drawing 6 cards most of the turns of the game. Pheasantipty EX doesn't help you in the early game. We'll take a look at some other decks. Specifically ones playing Squawkabilly EX, which can be useful, and is very useful turn 1. Then Pheasantipty EX, for the most part, will be useful after that. So those 2 cards are going to help you throughout the different turns of the game, being a really nice draw card on all those different turns. And this is where something like having Nest Ball or Ultra Ball is a lot better than Buddy Buddy Poffin, because you can get Pheasantipty EX or also Squawkabilly EX, which are for the most part going to be one of cards in your deck if you're playing them, to really help you in these situations where you just don't have much else going on. Like something like Lunatone, where you need Solrock, or Gholdengo EX, where you need Gimmighoul. And on top of that, Gholdengo EX draws you 1 or 2 cards. Lunatone's going to draw you 3 cards, but you also need that fighting energy. So these cards need more setup and stuff behind them to get to the same amount of draw as Pheasantipty EX or Squawkabilly EX. Squawkabilly EX discards your hand, draws 6 turn 1. So it does draw you more cards than Pheasantipty EX, but you also lose your entire hand. So it also has certain synergy elements, and that's why it's in certain decks and not in others. Also, it is a liability on the bench. I'll talk about that some. Even here, Genesect EX and Pheasantipty EX can be liabilities on the bench, giving up 2 prizes for less HP than your active. And on top of that, they're also going to be, specifically the Genesect EX, could get stuck in the active. You play Air Balloon and Professor scenario, so hopefully that's fine. And Prime Catcher here. But ultimately, Pheasantipty EX and or Squawkabilly EX on different turns of the game there are going to be cards that can completely bail you out, or for the most part, bail you out of a pretty sketchy hand if you just have a way to get them, or if you just have them in your hand. But then Lunatone is going to be drawing you cards consistently throughout the course of the game. Pheasantipty EX, your opponent kind of needs to feed into it. But Lunatone is going to be a solid draw engine. It is one of the draw engines in the game right now. That's a full engine. Again, Pheasantipty EX is going to be a one of Lunatone. And Solrock take up a big chunk of deck space. Also, we do have Fighting Gong. I haven't talked about this card yet. It's both Energy Search and Pokemon Search, depending what you want it to be. Specifically, it works really well with Lunatone Solrock package. Pretty much it just feeds into that. You can view it in that way. And in this deck here, but when you put these things all together, the Gholdengo EX drawing, the Lunatone drawing, the Pheasantipty EX drawing, the Genesect EX searching out your Pokemon, you have a pretty well-oiled machine with just the Pokemon, so you are less reliant on the other cards around it. And also the reason that Lunatone works so well within the deck, though I actually think it's a little overrated in Gholdengo, but anyways, it is because you need a lot of energy, so playing a bunch of energy and ways to get energy feels really natural within the deck, because Lunatone's an energy-based draw engine, and so is Gholdengo EX. And while I'm here, I'm going to talk about Ceruledge EX as well. Ceruledge EX has a lot of similarities to Gholdengo EX, especially because it uses Lunatone Solrock. Ceruledge EX does not have a draw ability here, but is a deck that is going to want to be able to get a bunch of energy in the discard pile and play a bunch of energy, so Lunatone's pretty much always going to be online, which is super useful. And on top of that, you're also going to need your more linear deck. These decks are both relatively linear here, but with more linear decks, you don't necessarily need as many specific search pieces. Gholdengo, you kind of need to combo some things together. Use Arven to get Earth and Vessel to get some energies, or use Arven to grab your Spirit into Retrieval to get a bunch of energies as well there. With the Ceruledge, you're just going to discard a bunch of stuff. Your game plan pretty straightforward there. And you do need to discard, though. So this is why we see Squawkabilly EX, a discarding supporter, Carmen, a discarding supporter, and Professor's Research, a discarding supporter. These are all pretty powerful discarding cards. Squawkabilly EX is drawing you 6, Carmen drawing you 5, Research drawing you 7. Carmen can be used turn 1 as well. So this deck more reliant on these powerful draw supporters. The powerful draw supporters draw you into the Nest Balls, and the Ultra Balls, which as I said earlier, are pretty versatile. Nest Ball finding everything except for Ceruledge EX, Ultra Ball finding everything, and also having some discard synergy. And also, I will say with Ultra Ball, and discarding cards. For the most part, it's pretty rare that you'll be in a situation where you can't play Ultra Ball, as in you have 2 or less cards in your hand. I guess 2 or 1, because you have the Ultra Ball there, including Ultra Ball. So if you have 3, you can play it. That being said, if you have 3 cards, you have to discard the other 2, which can can be really bad. It can lose you the game. So Ultra Ball, the discarding 2 cards can be bad. I'd say it's something that newer players can often be very scared of. Discarding cards is not bad. Don't be scared to discard cards with Ultra Ball or Earthen Vessel or Professor's Research or Carmen. Theoretically, you could discard resources that you need later on, but getting a lot of extra cards or versatility is just going to be worth it most of the time. But I mean, if you don't have to discard, that's generally going to be better as well. I mean, there's a reason not every deck's playing for Ultra Ball, but again, it is still a versatile card, which is really useful here. And then, as I said, we see there's one Squawkabilly EX, one Pheasantipede EX. If you're a deck that's more early game, Squawkabilly EX is going to be something you're looking for. If you're a deck that's more late game, Pheasantipede EX is going to be something you're looking for more. Every deck is realistically looking to play a bunch of turns. So Pheasantipede EX is a card that honestly I'd recommend in essentially every deck in the entire game. It is, with Flip the Script, it's the best Pokemon in the game. I'm not going to, there's not really, in my opinion, a particularly. I mean, there are arguments to be made for other cards, but they're very different cards. But Pheasantipede EX, in my opinion, is by far the best card best Pokemon in the game. The other best cards in the game, I've said this in previous videos, are the other cards in the engines. The Professor Research is that's a little lower. Nest Ball, Ultra Ball, Buddy Poffin, Arvin, Iono, and Liz's Determination, which we'll get to here. And yeah, I mean, you see lower utility supporters here. We do still see utility supporters. Boss's Orders being the main one you'll see in a lot of decks. Professor Terra scenario, we see Briar here as well. So you need to keep that in mind. If your deck more reliant on utility supporters, then you need to be less reliant on draw supporters, and then more reliant on your Pokemon and item draw engine there. Then we'll look at another deck which is a bit more different to these decks. This will be Dragapult, one of the top decks in the game right now. Dragapult EX is a really interesting deck. Oh, that's not quite what I was looking for. This is being grouped together. Here we go. Dragapult Dusknoir here. Dragapult EX is a powerful card, but it is a stage 2, so you are looking to play cards like Rare Candy, and also potentially other forms to get your evolution in play faster. Though this deck is a bit of a slower deck. Well, no, it's not really a slower deck, controlling the pace of the game. Decks that control the pace of the game more are more likely to be playing more supporters to draw you cards. Because if you're doing this, if you have longer games, supporters, you can play 1 per turn, but they are stronger than items. Therefore, for example, Dawn can search any Pokemon. It searches a basic, a stage 1 and a stage 2, and it gets more than just any Pokemon there. And there's a lot of powerful search supporters. If they were items, they're just like mediocre if they're supporters. But if you're making the game longer with Badoo, and then in turn you are playing slower yourself, you have more time to build up a hand with supporters to get what you want, to get into a really powerful position, control your opponent with something like Iono to disrupt their resources, and also hit their bench with something like Dusknoir, or if Dragapult EX or something like that. Once that gets going as well, then again, you will have more turns for these supporters, unlike some of the more simple, straightforward decks that are just going do as much damage as quickly as possible, ditch all the resources and do big, powerful damage here. And this works really well with Dracloak. This is another, I'd say, kind of like bonus ability here. Recon Directive, once during your turn, you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put 1 to your hand, the other on the bottom of your deck. Kind of like Dragapult EX, or no, like Gholdengo EX is drawing you a card every turn, but you see 2 every turn with every Dracloak. It's actually very, very good. It's essentially never played without Dragapult EX. I wonder if I can find a deck and not playing it here. Oh, not really. Oh, here, I found one. But yeah, Dragapult EX is very powerful, but Dracloak is also very powerful, and pairing these 2 together is super good. Dracloak, though, is going to be slower, but it is good, so you're not really looking to Rare Candy past Dracloak all the time, because just using Dracloak is going to be really nice here. And then again, you are slowing the game down. You're doing this primarily through the use of Badoo to stop your opponent from playing item cards, as well as potentially disruptive supporters like Iono, specifically in the late game. And then you can also accelerate back into the game using something like Dusknoir, which will speed up the pace of the game, but generally you're slowing the game down before then. Additionally, with more disruptive cards, you'll see, or with more supporters, you could see more disruptive cards like Jamming Tower as well. And so ultimately, the deck also is playing a lot of supporters to draw you into the cards that you need. We don't see any Captain Nest, we just see 4 Buddy Buddy Poffin. Buddy Buddy Poffin here, we see a lot of targets as well, and you're really looking to play at turn 1 to get your Pokemon down to evolve into, as well as Pokemon down to attack with turn 1, notably Badoo here. So you can get Badoo, you can get Duskull, and you can also get Dreepy, and these are all going to be good cards. Getting as many as you can is realistically always going to be good, unlike with Gholdengo EX, where Buddy Buddy Poffin, the first one is going to be really nice, but a second one or even a third one, that's going to be pretty useless. But with Buddy Buddy Poffin in Dragapult playing 3, I mean, you could do that and get value out of it. You're not looking to fill your bench with Pokemon that can't be used with Buddy Buddy Poffin early that often either. And then Ultra Ball here is going to be mostly searching evolutions, but it can be searching basics as well. I mean, you can get anything as well. It is versatile, but also being a slower deck here with like these bigger evolution lines, there might be more cards you're looking for to play. So Ultra Ball discarding could be sketchy, but again, we do see a lot of supporters here, specifically the 2 supporters, Iono and Liz's Determination, which alongside Professor's Research, you do lose your whole hand either by discarding it or shuffling it into the deck. But then you get to draw a big hand off of it. Iono's going to draw you 6 cards. It disrupts your opponent as well. Iono's a really interesting card, being a powerful disruption card late game, but a bad draw supporter for the most part, and a powerful draw supporter, but pretty terrible disruption supporter in the early game. I said for the most part for being a disruptive supporter, but bad draw in the late game. Because if your deck is a deck that's kind of playing it to come back, which this deck is, I mean, you can see tendencies from this, from stuff like Countercatcher and Badoo, and in some sense, Dusknoir and lower rare candy counts for being a stage 2 deck with, we see 3 stage 2s in this list that are from different lines. Not all of them are for different lines. It's not crazy stage 2 counts, but Iono will be really powerful. If you haven't taken any prizes and your opponent's taken prizes, and something like Control, this will be like, always shuffle your hand to your deck or on the bottom and then draw 6. On the other hand, Liz's Determination will always be shuffle, draw 8. Liz's Determination always draws you more cards than Iono. Liz's Determination does shuffle your hand into your deck, so you could see the same cards. That's not really like too bad. I mean, realistically, if your hand's always bad, that's like not a good sign. Most cards in your deck should be decent to have in your hand. Though it's not like you always want all the cards in your hand either. But Liz's Determination is going to be a powerful draw supporter. It's the best draw supporter in the game in terms of raw draw. Turn 1, I mean, it gets you 8 cards going second there. Always, I think. Maybe. I guess there are some situations where that's not the case, but pretty much it always is going to be the case here. So these are really useful, specifically if you're not looking to discard as well. Professor's Research will draw you 7 cards, which is going to draw you more than Iono always. Is going to be drawing you more than Liz's Determination a good chunk of the time as well. So if you're looking for just as much draw as possible, it would be Lily's and it would be Research. That's what you'd be doing there. You could play Lily's Research and Iono if you want crazy draw. If you're looking for more safer options, again, Lily's Determination and Iono will be that, as well as Arven getting you exactly what you need. But Arven is going to be getting you less cards. It's getting you 2 cards, and Iono and Liz are going to be getting you more cards. So if you have time to kind of, after that, sculpt your hand with something like Dracoloak, then these supports are going to feel a lot better than if you really need exactly what you need right off of them. And then on top of that, we also see the deck playing, as I said, these search supporters. I mean, there's just a lot of supporters for different use cases in this deck. On top of that, you can use Liz's Determination and Iono to draw into your utility items, which have similar roles to your utility supporters. Countercatcher replacing Boss's Orders, Night Stretcher replacing like Lana's Aid, which we saw in Gholdengo. Night Stretcher and also Super Rod are going to be the item options for recovery, which are the main options for recovery, but Countercatcher, not something you're going to be playing in every deck. So, yeah, I mean, that's just why we have the options for draw in this deck. I will also mention Pheasant EX can be a bit of a liability within this deck, but also you are, as I said, a deck that's kind of comeback focused. You really love the draw from it. You can see it's not as important as it might be in some other decks because you have a lot of search options that don't get it, but you have options that do get it as well. So it's a really powerful card. But then You also have a pretty decent draw engine. Drakeflow, I mean, Drakeflow's like a bit of a bonus, but it works decently. But you're going to be using, again, supporters here more as draw, and then the items as search. The Pokemon aren't going to be doing too much of either. You have some draw, and throughout the course of the game, Drakeflow can be quite nice, but it's just not this really raw, powerful draw engine. Gardevoir EX takes that even further. Gardevoir EX is the first card slash deck in this video where the main evolution line of the deck doesn't have draw. So here we see Mew EX for a little bit of draw, Pheasant EX for a little bit more there as well. Mew EX is also, it's a pretty versatile and cool card, but here you're going to be pretty reliant on, a pretty traditional lineup of supporters for Iono, for Liz Determination, and an Arven to then go ahead and get your items, your Ultra Ball and your Ultra Balls and your Nest Balls, and also you have Arven as or Ardzone there as well. You can go ahead, you can play those supporters, get those items, or Ardzone being kind of like an item, and then you can go ahead and get your Pokemon doing that. On the other hand, you do also have Secret Box. Secret Box is a card that's really interesting. It's a really explosive option when you get it, discarding 3 cards from your hand, which, again, you're going to end up with big hands with this deck by playing Iono and Liz Determination. Specifically, Iono, you're going to be, in the early games, getting a ton of cards there, and then you can go ahead, Secret Box, get rid of a bunch of cards in your hand. There, you have some discard synergy with the energy that you want in the discard, but for the most part, it's not, like, amazing to discard. But then you're able to search for a supporter, a stadium, a tool, and a, what didn't I say? Item. There we go. The item can get you any Pokemon. The stadium can also get you a lot of different Pokemon. The tools are going to be kind of meh in this list. I'm going to see 2 tools, but definitely could be useful there. And then the supporter is useful if you play it off of Iono or Lilies. It will be for next turn, or Arven as well there. But this is going to be a pretty traditional supporter lineup. With this deck, you might be buying some time with Frillish again to play more supporter cards to get your hand and also your board state to where you need it to be. And again, Pheasant EX is going to be a super high power Pokemon as well. We see all of the Pokemon search options and that are items are able to search out Pheasant EX, allowing you to get into the game. And you see Ultra Ball, and Ultra Ball, as I said, is a safer card. You're going to end up with these big hands and very comfortable discarding energy to accelerate back onto your board with Gardevoir EX. So discarding some of the deck is fine with or even happy to do. And then you just need to get set up. Once you're set up, you're going to be able to come back. You can kind of control the game, and you're just looking at this as a deck that's kind of similar to Dragapult EX in some ways. Really looking to establish a good board, slow the game down, and then burst back into it. Here you're looking at less tanky options that you'll see in Gardevoir or in Dragapult EX, but more single prize options, and overall just a really powerful deck as well. And, Gardevoir and Dragapult, 2 really powerful decks. Gholdengo is powerful as well, but again, it's going to be that more powerful, explosive deck needing more specific things earlier on. Charizard DX is going to be also another Stage 2 deck here. This one's really built with Candy being a very important piece of the deck. We see, as well as Team Evolution, ways to get your evolutions into play relatively quickly and consistently here. And we see Arven to do that. Liz Determination is just crazy draw as well. We see less Ionos. And then you also do have Pidgeot EX. Pidgeot EX is really interesting here. Pidgeot EX is the first, I guess, true draw engine we're seeing. We do also see Pheasant EX in the list and Tatsugiri for a little bit of extra drawn setup there. And of course, Pokemon here is going to be Charizard EX. Charizard EX is a powerful attacking Pokemon that is more or less able to do what it needs to do on its own. Unlike Gardevoir EX, we need a bunch of energy in the discard, and you realistically need some other Pokemon to attack with, and also Dragapult EX, we need to evolve. You're looking to use the Stage 1 a lot of the times, play a little slower there. And on top of that, you also need 2 energies which are attached from hand. In Gholdengo EX, where you're also going to need yourself a lot of energy going around. Again, you do have some draw from the ability, but Charizard EX just gets the energy on it from deck. You need low energy accounts as well, so you have more deck space to work with. And then you need to do other stuff to be able to win the game. Charizard DX is strong, but not always the most powerful card all the time. So you're going to see stuff like Dusknoir, Briar, Muscle Orders, and various other disruptive or utility trainer and Pokemon cards, and I guess Jet Engine as well as an energy, to be able to do a lot of different things for you. But then you just need to get the Charizard DX set up, which isn't too hard to do. You need Rare Candy or TM Evolution there. Arven's able to grab you Team Evolution. You don't have to Team Evolution. You can Rare Candy. And Rare Candy also, of course, in Team Evolution, these work well with Stage 2, so that's why you're looking at a Stage 2 draw engine. Pidgeot EX is something that just doesn't work in every deck. You could put it into something like Flareon here, but Flareon, you're not naturally playing any copies of Rare Candy, so you then just need to go ahead and toss in there we go, Rare Candy. I thought I didn't play it. You can search it, and I'll talk a little bit more about Noctowl a little bit later. We're getting to the end of the video here, but I'll break that down as like the last full engine, I guess. But you're looking at Charizard EX as a card that you're just looking at having more options. Pidgeot EX getting you anything you need every single turn, which is actually, I guess I'll talk about Noctowl here a little bit as well. It's similar. This is a search-based Pokemon engine. We'll see it in, say, like Terra Box or like Raging Bolt. Where's Raging Bolt? Raging Bolt's I've lost it. Raging Bolt is here. Oh, it's right here. I'm always used to seeing it with Ogre Pond. I combine stuff. Raging Bolt doesn't always play Noctowl. It definitely plays it some. Oh, that's the same person. Okay, there we go. So Noctowl here gets you any trainer. Pidgeot EX gets you any card, but again, any trainer can realistically get you essentially any card. So you have these as a really versatile search options. This allows you to play different tech cards. We see like Glass Trumpet, Energy Switch, different stadiums, and like tools and stuff like that, and different Pokemon options, which you can search with your different items and things like that as well. Noctowl and Pidgeot EX both are going to give you a lot of different searching options. However, Pidgeot EX requires a bit more search to get started with. But once you're going, you have so much power and versatility. Noctowl is theoretically more explosive, getting you more cards. When Noctowl gets you 2 cards, it requires relatively little setup. It requires a stage 1 unlike a stage 2. And it also does require a Terra in play, but that's not too bad if you're doing what you want to do. It's pretty doable. And just not really something you need to think about much at all. But Noctowl is going to be an engine which allows you to really burst things onto the board. Really quickly. You can then go ahead and grab your Crispins or Professor Saw's Vitalities and your Energy Switches to do some easy combos to go from essentially nothing to knocking almost anything out. Also get your Teal'c Ogre Pond EXs. You can attack with like some snipe attack or some one-shot on a multi-prizer with a single prizer, or some really low resource option like Iron Leaves EX. If you just have a little less juice there, you can combine that with like Glass Trumpet as well. So you can do these really, really interesting options, but you'll run out of juice. If you're looking for these longer games, which evolution decks are going to have longer games, you're looking for a bit of a slower engine that's going to do something every single turn. Noctowl isn't going to be doing that. You can kind of combine it with different things to maybe recover stuff. You could technically get rid of your Zero Underdepths and Night Stretcher, your stuff back, or something like that. But you're looking for these powerful, explosive setup plays with Raging Bolt, where you are this explosive deck taking big knockouts. And with Charizard, you're a powerful deck, but you have room to do some other stuff. You're not reliant on your engine to set up your main Pokemon all the time. It's going to give you a little extra help to getting there, but then you can also focus on these different utility options that can get knockouts, get rid of your opponent's Pokemon. Like Duststorm gets a knock, but also gets rid of something or adds extra damage. You also have Maximum Belt, you have Blowtorch for utility. Just a ton of really interesting utility options there, which Pidgeot EX will kind of be really useful throughout the course of the game, where you can kind of control the game a lot better. Also, it is a way that is good against Iono. If you're hit with Disruption, Pidgeot EX is going to be on board, presumably, and you can go ahead and use it and just get back into the game really easily. Similarly with Pheasantip EX, though, it honestly gets knocked out a lot. And also, your opponent might not knock you out. There's a lot of different ways around it. There's very few ways around Pidgeot EX, unless they just knock it out, but it is a liability compared to Charizard with 50 less HP, but it's not a huge liability just in general there. Then looking at a couple more draw engines that are a little different / non-existent, except for Alakazam. I'll talk about, oh, I clicked the wrong link. I'll talk about Alakazam real quick here. Alakazam draws you a bunch of cards. This is very different. Your whole goal is to draw cards. You want to draw cards. You want to draw cards. You want to draw cards. That's how you win. That's how you get more cards to play. That's how you do everything in the deck. You have a specific combo here with the Dunsparce and Enriching Energy to draw you more cards there. And you have these card draw options that Alakazam and Kadabra, they're part of your main evolution line. They draw you cards. You want to play them to do more damage. You want to play them to get your board set up. The deck is a really, really fun deck where you just do lots of stuff to draw you more cards. And yeah, I mean, there's not too much to overcomplicate with it. I realized I didn't talk about Dawn with Gardevoir. I'll talk about it now then, or not with Gardevoir, with Dragapult. But yeah, you have cards that increase your hand size. You don't have cards that decrease your hand size like Laser Determination, Iono, or Research because they're bad here. But you do see something like Dawn, which gets you a bunch of cards, or Hilda. Dawn specifically, I'll say, is useful. We have value from a Stage 1 and a Stage 2, and also basic, but every deck's going to have value from a basic. Honestly, from Pheasant Dip to EX. That's just like good in every deck, and almost always good to search out. And your main evolution line or attacking option is also going to be searchable off of the as a basic. So the basics are always going to be useful, really. The Stage 1 is particularly good here with like the Dunsparce and Kadabra as draw options, useful with like Dracula and stuff like that. The Stage 2, obviously, you need to be playing a Stage 2 deck. So Dawn's only useful in Stage 2 decks, but it's not useful in every Stage 2 deck. It's useful in Stage 2 decks that also have good value from Stage 1s, which is honestly most Stage 2 decks. You need some useful ability. It could be like a really good previous evolution like Dracloak or Dusclops, or Kadabra here, or it could be a separate Stage 1 line like the Dunsparce there. But then looking at the last few decks here, there are some decks like Mega Absolbox. Mega Absolbox has a bit of an engine here. You're going to see Mega Kangaskhan EX to draw you some cards, and also going to see Pheasant Dipty EX to draw you some cards. These are good cards. They are good cards that draw you cards, and that's nice. But I mean, Pheasant Dipty EX are playing three prizers, so you might only be able to use it once potentially. You also have Mega Kangaskhan EX. Mega Kangaskhan EX is going to draw you some cards, but it's a bit of a liability in not drawing you a ton of cards. I mean, 2 cards every turn is nice, but you need to like switch it in and out and stuff. Also, I'll say a quick couple of notes on this deck. One, Zoroark's Expectations. I would highly recommend against playing this card in the deck, specifically if you're not playing 4 Ionos. 4 Ionos is going to be like Ionos is going to be better than Zoroark's Machinations essentially all of the time. A lot of people say Mega Absol EX is super good because it lets you choose which cards you discard from your opponent's hand. If it was just random cards, it would be a lot worse, and if they chose, it would be even worse there. Well, Zoroark's Machinations your opponent chooses, which is like, it's not like useless, but like, it's bad. I mean, I've made a whole video on it. Pretty much just play like Ionos over Zoroark's Machinations is a lot better. I've been hit by it a bunch. I've been like discarding like 7 cards and it like doesn't matter. Anyways, that's not really for today's video, but don't play that card, it's bad. But then Precious Trolley, this is a little different. This is the deck, honestly, like Mega Box. It's just not my kind of deck. I mean, I kind of like it. In terms of a lot of the deck building decisions I see in a lot of people who play it, they're thinking, I mean, I don't like Precious Trolley. It's not a bad card, but it is a card that is a high risk, high reward card. I was talking about Buddy Buddy Poffin. Buddy Buddy Poffin is like super good in early turns, super terrible in late turns. Precious Trolley is that kicked up so much. Precious Trolley, I guess it's never bad. It's always better or as good as Nest Ball. But like hitting at turn 3 is bad unless you've like dead draw, like haven't done anything, in which case presumably you're gonna lose. So Precious Trolley is going to be I'm probably going to make a whole video on it. I'm not going to lie. But Precious Trolley is a card that doesn't... It's not like you go from having nothing to everything, because presumably you have something if you don't have Precious Trolley. Even on turn 1, you might have, like, you're going to have at least 1 Pokemon in play. Otherwise, you've literally lost. So, you know, it is going to help you. It is powerful when you play it. But you don't also always have Arbin turn 1, and so you can't just instantly lose if you don't have Arbin. This is another deck here where Arbin's really useful. You get your Team Turbo Energized. You have Precious Trolley that's really powerful. Your deck's kind of built around it, but you also have these backup supporter options like Laser Determination and Iono, which are super powerful, as well as Pokegear to help get you your supporters. You're also a deck that's aiming to slow the game down through the use of walls like Crustle or Cornerstone Master Ogerpon EX, or just Pokemon with high HP in general, and Penny. And then you also have disruptive options like Yveltal and Mega Absol EX to again slow the game down and play a lot of supporters to get your hand in a good place, and you know, just do some really powerful stuff there. But you're less reliant on your Pokemon here, and also not so reliant on your items. And you don't have that many draw spores. It's kind of sketchy. You kind of just need to draw into good stuff sometimes as well. And luckily your Pokemon though are for the most part basics and relatively self-sufficient. If you just got like a random Pokemon with an energy with Team Turbo Energize, and then you can attach another energy to your Mega Absol EX turn 2. You can be doing something. You can be doing more or less what you want to do, so you're not as in need as many things, which is why you can afford a lower supporter count, or just not supporter count, a lower draw engine or a lesser draw engine there. Same thing with Marty's Grimstone EX. I mean, this deck has a decent draw engine, specifically with Spike in the gym just being a really nice search option. We see some lower Pokemon search options. Also, I coughed. I hope I muted that right. But we see lesser or like lower Pokemon search options. But you're another deck here like Charizard EX where you just get your attacker up. It does everything for you, so you don't need to be getting all of these different things to chain together this like crazy combo to actually get your stage 2 into play. Unlike with Dragapult, you need to evolve a bunch of times, then you need to get your energies into your hand. I mean, it's not like an absurd combo. It's very doable. But with Marnies, you just play the Marnies Grimstone EX and get into play. Just like the Charizard EX, Rare Candy and TM Evolution, you just get into play. You can also buy some time in the early game as well. Wait, what? This Yveltal, I've like not seen anyone play this card. Not what I was expecting to see when I clicked on this list. Wait a second, this person's the same as this person. Okay. Anyways, I'm getting distracted here. But looks like this person was testing and it went well. Anyways, yeah, I mean, pretty much you're able to go ahead and get your Mars Grimstone EX set up. From there, yeah, you want your Monkey Doors with energy, you want your Frost classes, but you need the Mars Grimstone EX to be doing Mars Grimstone EX things. And so you just need to get that into play, do your thing, and that's the main focus. This deck's less focused on doing other weird stuff. Honestly, I think Charizard is better than Mars Grimstone EX because most decks are built like this where you just get the Marios in play, and then you don't have as much other support. You have a little bit of spread. You have a little bit of extra damage active as well if you want it. Then you're also able to have like a little bit of disruption. The TM Devo, I mean, TM Devo is like a win condition, realistically, in a lot of different situations. But overall, there are a lot of really interesting different ways to build your decks. But if you have these lower required Pokemon, then you need less draw pieces and you can do more interesting tech pieces, or you can increase the consistency a lot as well. But overall, just think about different things. I hope this video was useful. I went through a lot of examples. I don't know if I quite got all the points I was looking for, but I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff, and tell me your thoughts down below on deck building and draw engines. But I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.